So what if AI could give teachers a kind of superpower? The ability to see which student is struggling, not from their test scores, but from their feelings. Today we're going to dig into some new research that could totally change the classroom as we know it.
I mean, this is the real question, isn't it? In a busy classroom, you've got kids who say they're doing fine, they look like they're paying attention, but inside, they could be completely lost or frustrated or just checked out. So how can a teacher possibly spot that invisible struggle before it becomes a real problem?
And that question brings us right to the heart of the modern classroom's dilemma. The challenge really starts with what we're asking students to do now and the kind of invisible struggles that can create.
A lot of science education these days is focused on inquiry-based learning. It's a fancy term, but it basically means we're asking students to think and act like scientists. But that kind of independence requires a really tough skill called self-regulated learning. It means you're basically the CEO of your own education. You set the goals, you track your progress, you know when to pivot. Honestly, that's a huge ask for any of us, let alone a kid in middle school.
And you can imagine, that puts teachers in a really tough spot. With 20, maybe 30 students in a room, each on their own unique learning journey, it's practically impossible to monitor every single student's internal world. And by the time a problem actually shows up on a test, that student could have been struggling silently for weeks.
So, to try and solve this, researchers started exploring a digital solution. Enter the AI Early Warning System. A really groundbreaking study in the Educational Psychology Review put a system to the test that was designed to give teachers these exact insights, right when they'd be most helpful. The setup itself was pretty straightforward. Students worked on a physics unit using these digital workbooks. But here's the crucial part. The system didn't just track their answers. It also logged how they felt about the work and how they thought they were doing. A machine learning model then took all that data and crunched it to predict who might be heading for trouble down the line. The best way to think about it is like a check engine light on your car's dashboard, right? It's not there to replace the teacher, the mechanic in this analogy. It's just there to flash a little warning to say, hey, you might want to look under the hood here. It gives the teacher a chance to intervene before there's a total breakdown.
So what really predicts if a student is going to succeed? To power this dashboard light, the researchers knew they had to look way beyond just grades. They gathered 3 completely different types of data from about 200 middle schoolers in Germany to get a really full picture of each student's experience.
The data really fell into 3 main buckets. First, you have the cognitive data. That's the straightforward stuff, what students actually know and do on their assignments. Then you have the affective data. This is all about how they feel. They'd report emotions like frustration or interest. And finally, the metacognitive data, which is all about how they think about their own learning, rating statements like, I understand the contents well. It's this combination that gives you that 360-degree view.
So the researchers fed all 3 of these data streams into their AI models to see what would happen. And what they discovered was, well, it was genuinely shocking. It pretty much turned the common wisdom about academic success completely on its head.
And here it is, the core finding. At the very beginning of the learning unit, a student's final performance wasn't best predicted by what they already knew. Nope. It was predicted by their emotional and their metacognitive state, basically how they felt and how they judged their own ability to understand.
What's even crazier is that the warning signs actually change over time. Early on, the biggest predictors were feelings of frustration and surprise, plus that self-rating of I get this. Then, as the unit progressed, things like student interest started to matter more. It was only way at the end that the actual grades, the cognitive scores, became the most important predictor. The timing of these signals is everything.
And look at this. Even when the AI only looked at the feelings and the self-perceptions, it totally ignored the test scores. It could still predict a student's final outcome with 60 to 80% accuracy. That's an incredibly powerful signal, and it's coming purely from how a student feels. But, and this is a really big but, this all leads to a super critical conversation about bias in the machine. Anytime you have an AI this powerful, you have to ask about fairness, because a system that's designed to help can become harmful if it doesn't work for everybody.
This is really the million-dollar question. If that dashboard light is more likely to flash for boys than for girls, or for students from wealthier families, well then the system isn't just failing to help, is it? It's actively making existing inequalities in the classroom even worse.
This is exactly what experts call technical bias. It's when an AI model's predictions just aren't as accurate for some groups of people as they are for others. And the researchers in this study specifically went looking to see if this was a problem with their models.
And they found it. For example, with one of the AI models they tested, the predictions for male students were consistently accurate. But for female students, the accuracy was all over the map, with these big, significant dips. That dashboard light was just flat out less reliable for them.
And they saw similar things when it came to socioeconomic background. A different AI model had a huge drop in accuracy early on for students whose parents didn't have academic degrees. This just shows how complicated the problem is. The bias can change depending on the specific AI you use and the specific group you're looking at.
So, let's wrap this all up. What have we learned? Well, first, AI shows incredible promise for spotting students who need help way earlier than we ever could before. And it does this by listening to something we often ignore, their feelings. But this powerful tool comes with a huge warning label. There's a very real risk that this tech could just reinforce the inequalities that already exist. It proves that making these systems fair is a massive challenge, where every single choice matters.
And that leaves us with this final massive question. We have this potential to build tools that could fundamentally change how teachers support their students for the better. But the real challenge isn't just making the AI smart, it's making it fair. Can we actually build this future classroom in a way that works for every single student? That's the work that lies ahead.